thank you for joining us this week for another edition of Leadership Matters. It is a pleasure to be able to report to and interact with you at home and in the diaspora. I appreciate the importance of my government frequently and continually communicating directly with the people. Such thinking has shaped the ethos of my Team Unity administration. We regularly convene the National Assembly to debate the laws to take our country forward. Indeed, we now have the most active and productive parliament in recent memory. My monthly press conference is the most comprehensive in the region, and it informs and updates on the progress and execution of those policies and programs, fielding questions from a probing press corps. These forums give every man and woman the opportunity and access to the highest executive offices in the land. This evening, we turn our focus to agriculture and food security. It is one of the most important considerations for my country at this time. It would seem that when mankind began planting crops, we began putting down roots literally and figuratively. Here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have a rich and colorful history with regard to agriculture. The islands of St. Kitts and Nevis were known for the production of important export crops such as cotton, tobacco, and sugar. Indeed, there was a time when every piece of arable land, from the hills of Mount Lyamega and Nevis Peak to the shores, was under cultivation, either as export crops or to feed the domestic population. We see the evidence of the extent in the many ruins of sugar plantations and mill houses that still dot our two islands. History books relate accounts of planters commenting on the rich soil in St. Kitts and Nevis that yields much larger sugar cane than other islands, thus producing more sugar from less land space. We ceased the production of sugar in St. Kitts on a commercial basis way back in 2005, providing greater opportunities for expansion in non-sugar agriculture. Agriculture has seen a budding revival over the last several years. The onset of the COVID-19 pandemic has reminded us of the very important need to be able to feed ourselves. We well remember the anxiety felt by some this time last year when the world was in lockdown, and many were concerned if the boats and cargo vessels will bring food again. I recall that in my addresses to the nation at the time, having to reassure the populace that the country had adequate food supplies and avenues for restocking. Nevertheless, the experience did solidify the realization that we need to produce more of what we consume. We became cognizant of the fears of our people, and we responded. To protect us against supply chain being negatively affected, we need to systematically diversify source markets for food, including poultry, meat, and fish, while aggressively working to near self-sufficiency in these staples. This is why, as part of the stimulus package, my government allocated $10 million to boost agriculture and agricultural production. Building on the commitment made to expand our agricultural base, we, in our 2021 budget, allocated $5 million to continue the stimulus program for the agricultural sector. We are seeing increased production and interest in crops, in livestock, poultry, and fisheries. The concessions that my administration delivered to this sector are bearing fruit. Fisheries output, for example, recorded a 3.6% increase in 2020 after an 83% reduction in output in April 2020, a direct consequence of the COVID-19 pandemic and the associated curfews and lockdowns, which in fact brought fisheries to a standstill. Over the past almost 6 years, my administration has given much and will further increase its support to the sector. Indeed, the 2021 allocation of just over $10 million plus a further $5 million for the stimulus program represents the largest budgetary allocation to this sector in a very long time. The Permanent Secretary perhaps may discuss this briefly. I understand the vital importance of this sector to our country and economy. I understand also the challenges. I appreciate the vast potential of the agricultural sector to contribute to our sustainable growth and development. Of course, for this to be achieved, there must be a focused goal and a cohesive strategy. We can produce more and better quality products for us to consume domestically and, of course, for export. Better quality foods lead to improvement in our health condition, which in turn mean lower health costs. Our health is critical to the nation's wealth. Working together, we can create more jobs within the sector, wealth for our people, and a source of foreign exchange for our country. Over time, many of our citizens left our shores to work on farms in Canada. The last batch that left comprises 23 persons. Those 23 persons were recruited by Canada to work on cannabis farms. I am happy for their exposure, and I do hope upon their return they can help us build out a medicinal cannabis industry that earns foreign exchange by contributing to global public health, create new jobs, high incomes for our people, and a stronger and safer St. Kitts and Nevis. Since the start of the year, the Ministry of Agriculture has held discussions with the technical experts and seasoned practitioners, farmers and fishers. Let us set the goals for ourselves and a vision where the sector will be in the next 5, 10, 20, even 30 years. Let us approach these goals with the same oneness of purpose and shared responsibility that brought us so much success in the fight against COVID-19. We can do this together, St. Kitts and Nevis. We will, once we join that shared responsibility and oneness of purpose with the ingrained resilience and innovation gifted to us by our forebears. Before concluding, I must again encourage all farmers and fishers to get vaccinated. Do it to minimize the risks of contracting COVID-19 or of transmitting COVID-19 to anyone. Do it for yourselves, do it for your families, and very importantly, do it to put our country on a sustained path to recovery. Do it to facilitate our herd immunity target being realized, which in turn will lead to more business opportunities at our hotels and at other business places. Let me commend all 11,804 persons who, as at today, Tuesday the 20th of April, have already received their first dose of vaccine. I am very proud of you and of your singular contribution to make our country safer and stronger in the future. I could not end my opening remarks without recognizing some of the ladies involved in agriculture. Denise Gillard of Newton Ground, Catherine Kate Pemberton of Old Road, Arabella Nisbet of Newton Ground, Debbie Gilbert of Phillips, Miss Vera Samuel, and Loretta Patrick of Tabernacle, among several other female farmers. I want to thank them all for their leadership and special touch in agriculture. Tonight I am pleased to have on the panel Mr. Ron Collins, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture et al., Dr. Tracy Challenger Clark, our Chief Veterinary Officer, Ms. Sharon Jones, representing AICA, and Mr. Winston Morris, a long-standing farmer. I know this edition of Leadership Matters will be quite informative, and I look forward to a better quality of life for our farmers and fishers, and a stronger and safer future for all of our citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. I pray that God will continue to bless the people of St. Kitts and Nevis and to bless this beautiful country. Thank you very much for tuning in.
And thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. We'll now hear